House after spending the night at 2 fundraisers in New York. Chief White House correspondent Ed Henry will join us in moments, but we want to catch you up on breaking news and a dramatic piece of audio tape we just got on the passenger jet shot down over Ukraine. This could be the proof that links this directly to Russia. First, it was around 1 p.m. local time. Malaysian Airlines Flight 17 departed Amsterdam en route to Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia. At over 30,000 feet while flying over eastern Ukraine, the plane dropped off radar and crashed. The region, which sits along Ukraine's border with Russia, has been the center of fighting between Ukrainian forces and pro-Russian separatists, people who are Ukrainian but want to be part of Russia. This airspace was known to be dangerous to commercial aircraft. In fact, in April, the United States Federal Aviation Administration, the FAA, prohibited U.S. flights from flying over this area, saying that's nothing good's going to happen there. In just the past week, at least 2 Ukrainian jets have been shot down. They've been cargo jets, but 50 people were on one of them. Take a look at the horizon. There you can see. This is said to be the initial impact, the impact of the plane in this amateur video of Malaysian Airlines Flight 17. The aircraft scattering into pieces in a wheat field. You can see the massive plume of black smoke rising from the crash site. Today we heard terrible stories from eyewitnesses who saw a horrific, look at this poor man. You can see the anguish. You know, you forget this. You go right to the geopolitical implications and you forget the face of just devastation and despair associated with these events. Just a horrific debris field that stretches nearly 10 miles as relatives heard the news. And on the site, we are told the victims' bodies are strewn amongst the rubble. Some were stripped naked by the impact. A young man in Nike shoes and clutching his iPhone. A woman whose limbs had been broken, others still buckled into their seats, all dead. And we are now learning that some of the victims were members of the World Health Organization returning from an AIDS conference. Tonight, senior U.S. intel sources have confirmed that a missile took down this plane, and this weapon may have launched it. This one right here. This is a Buk, surface-to-air missile launcher. Developed in the 70s in the Soviet Union, it was meant to defend armies against air threat. Some versions can engage up to 24 simultaneous targets, and it fires missiles that lock on the heat signatures on planes. They go at the speed of sound. There is no avoiding this. I mean, they basically took out a sitting duck. A commercial airliner has no defenses against this thing. What we don't know for sure is who fired it, but there's plenty of speculation. Tonight, this is big. The Ukrainian Secret Service had a news conference accusing the Russian military of being involved in this shoot-down. Now, keep in mind, Vladimir Putin says it was Ukrainians. The Ukrainian says it was Russia. But tonight, the Ukrainians are releasing what they say is an audio tape with voices that they say belong to 2 military officers, Russian military officers, discussing what happened. Then 2 others join the conversation. They're identified as these pro-Russian Ukrainians. So you've got 2 actual Russians discussing it, purportedly, and then 2 of these Ukrainians who are pro-Russian and sort of want to be part of Russia. Watch and listen to this conversation.
The minor group has just shot down an airplane. It's come down near Anakiba.
Pilots, where are the pilots?
They've gone to look for a photograph of the crashed plane. There's smoke rising.
How many minutes ago was this?
Around 30 minutes ago. What have you got going on there?
Well, in short, it's 100% sure that it's a civilian plane.
Are there a lot of people there?
It's expletive bad. Debris has fallen in people's yards. What flight was it?
I haven't worked that out yet. I haven't been anywhere near the main area. I only just looked over there where the first bodies started falling. There's debris from the interior bracket supports, seats, bodies.
Is there any type of weapon?
Absolutely nothing. There are civilian things, medical scraps, towels, and lavatory paper. It means they wanted to bring some spies to us. F them. They should not fly. We are at war here.
Joining us now, former CIA officer Buck Sexton. All right, so let's just start with the disclaimer that this came from the Ukrainians, their Secret Service. They want to put the blame on the Russians. We can't vouch for the authenticity of this tape. However, they held this news conference. It's been put out on the wires by the press. And the question tonight is, if this is real, What does it show us?
It almost certainly is real, Megyn. It squares with everything we know so far about this shoot-down. It was obvious that it was a missile shoot-down early this morning.
And U.S. Intel has confirmed that.
The U.S. Intel's confirmed that, but it was obvious just based upon the trajectory of the flight path. If you thought that this was coincidence, I don't think anybody did, that this was the one area where this plane would miraculously disappear for a period of time. It clearly was shot down. The question now is how bloody. Russia's fingerprints are all over this. The question is how bloody are the fingerprints?
But let me just say, because we were on air for our actual hour, 9 p.m. earlier, and we spent a lot of time discussing, well, Russia may have responsibility, direct or indirect, but if it's direct, it's a much bigger deal. We have a Democratic Senator Carl Levin, head of the Senate Intel Committee, saying this is an act of war, potentially. And does this tape potentially show us that Russia was directly involved in this?
Russia has been much more directly involved in the fighting in eastern Ukraine than it's been able to say, stretching back for months. When we're talking about the possibility of GRU officers, which is Russian military intelligence.
Okay, and that's who's supposedly on this tape, Russian GRU officers. Go ahead.
Yeah, these are Russian intel officers who are on the ground there, who are helping the partisans, the anti-Kiev fighters, the anti-Ukrainian fighters, separatists, whatever you want to call them. They're really Russian partisans. They're paramilitaries, and they're taking orders largely from Moscow. And so what we have here are Russian intel guys on the ground saying, what happened? Oh my gosh, they've been blowing planes out of the sky for weeks. Let's keep that in mind. They've been bragging about it on social media. We know that the pro-Russian separatists on the ground have been talking about that openly. Now they happen to hit a plane that was a civilian airliner, not a Ukrainian cargo jet. That's the big distinction here. So they wanted to shoot the plane down, but they didn't know what it was.
Okay, but I get that. And this, you know, I don't want to say to their credit, but this seems to prove that they didn't know what they were doing, that they were surprised to find out that this was a passenger jet and not some cargo jet or so on. And they said they sound confused as to what it was doing in Ukrainian airspace. However, to me, you know, as a lawyer, the most interesting piece is, does it tie the Russians directly here? The Russians are saying, it wasn't us, we had nothing to do with it, this is all the Ukraine.
Well, this is, for one thing, Russian military equipment. Now, they can say they stole it from the Ukrainian government, but that's...
No, but that's separate, that's separate. And I apologize for keeping me on this point, but I'm just trying to understand. It seems to me that they are suggesting that what we're hearing on here is a Russian
GRU officer finding out about the shoot-down. Now, they're Russian GRU officers who are embedded with the Ukrainian fighters in eastern Ukraine, with the separatist fighters. There are already Russian intelligence agents